Welcome back to Trees and Utilities. We're doing another episode of Trees and Lines. We're sitting down now with Jamie McMillan, who's in account management at MV5. But today, what we're going to focus on with Jamie is she's also the chairperson of Women in Vegetation Management Committee. And you guys focus on a workshop, right?
Yes.
And we wanted to hear about how it all went, some of the goals that you guys have, what you had for this year, how things are progressing, and where you think just generally women in the space, how they're doing, and how the industry has responded to the growth. So
Yeah.
you mind sharing with us a little bit about that?
First of all, I thought I was here to talk about true crime, but
Oh yeah, we did talk about this.
we can talk about women in vegetation.
Yes. We had by the way, for our audience, we had a very offline conversation about Jamie likes to follow podcasts about true crime, and I cannot handle anything sinister. So we're obviously in disagreement there, but yes.
But we can talk about the Women in Vegetation Committee
Very good.
instead.
Okay.
So, yes, I was the chairperson this year. We actually run in 2-year planning cycles, so we already have next year planned. We spend a year with a very active committee meeting every month and either interviewing speakers to have for the 3-hour workshop the first day of the Trees and Utilities Conference each year.
Yep.
Different topics that could be valuable to women in our industry, trying to empower, the voice of women to add some diversity to the conversation.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just, I guess, to paint a picture, right? This workshop, from what I've heard at times, and I'm going to prioritize attending next year, I heard is difficult to get into.
Difficult to get into. So that probably comes from last year. We had a very specific speaker who had limited the attendee numbers. So it was a bit of a coveted space last year. However, this year it was open to anybody who would want to attend. We ended up having 85 registrants, which was a good high number.
Yep.
2/3 of those were women. 1/3 was actually men.
Wow.
So just little tidbit there.
That's good. The naming, the men think it's for women. I hear that all the time. So that's a bit of a marketing issue, I think.
I think you're right, and we have to be tread delicately. A bit of an issue is anytime you have a group set aside for women, it needs to be led by women. Obviously, the voice needs to be women strong. So we don't want it to be. Not that nobody's welcome, but we don't want it to be overwhelmed by, taking the focus away from the purpose why we're meeting, right? A new addition we had this year was a networking event on Monday night. So typically the conference starts on Tuesday and, runs, and we're all exhausted by the end of the week. So something that the committee added this year was the 1-hour networking session Monday night, people arriving for the conference, getting in just at a little local space. And I think that worked out really well. I think we're going to continue that into future years. And
I would be very interested if you could summarize for us the workshop. Like, what were some of the key items that were a focus? And what do you think is if I know it's hard to pare down, but what do you think is most important to the women in this industry at this moment in time?
So this year we broke it up into 2 sessions. The first was a panel interview. So we had 4 very prominent members that everybody knows at the conferences sitting on the panel, and we had questions that were of interest, and something we added this year was an interactive question app. So that the participants
that.
It was nice.
That's really cool.
It was, because a lot of times we've all had that experience of an audience member asking a question and then potentially going down a rabbit hole that might not be on task or of interest to everybody. We had Leslie Cass, Ann Beard, Ellen Buck, and Matt Goff. So it was a good spread. Good. We try to always include one man on the panel anytime. We try to do a panel every year that adds a little bit of different perspectives.
That's fantastic.
It was.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about what you think is a core theme, a core issue, or a core point, maybe not even an issue, something that tends to be the core focus for the audience in that room.
Yeah, it can range. It gets very, high level as to what is the direction? How do women contribute meaningfully to this industry that we love, right?
Yeah.
We're here because we want to be here.
Yes. Absolutely.
We love the people, we love
Yep.
the idea and the concept, and so so how do we be involved with that? And then also, one of the main topics this year that our speaker presented on was generational diversity. So like we were able to pair, she went through like the different, if you're 78 and above, you're a traditionalist generation, and then the baby boomer generation, and then Gen X. And the speaker, who was also the keynote speaker during the opening ceremony
That's right.
this year. So it was a different message, but same speaker. She was very uplifting. So she broke it down into all the generations, had us raise our hand, who is of which generation, do these descriptors make sense for, and just how that contributes to working together and in the organizations. So anyway, it goes from all of that to say, it goes from high level ideas as to how we all work together and interact and contribute meaningfully, all the way down to, not to be crass, but how to pee in the woods when you're the only woman on an all-male crew.
Right.
So those conversations are happening and they are valid.
Yes.
So it's kind of giving a free space to do this. Some topics include imposter syndrome. A lot of times you're like, what is imposter syndrome, you ask? So whenever a woman is applying for a job, she will statistically not apply for that job unless she checks all of the boxes.
Oh, yes. Okay.
In the job posting.
I understand where you're going with this. Okay.
Typically, just statistically, if a man, I want to say it's 60%, that could be wrong, but not all the boxes.
And they apply.
And he will apply.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of just like supporting women to give it a shot.
Encouraging that, yes.
Just changing that conversation and communicating with like,
yes.
We all have space here.
My business partner and I kind of co-founded some education-focused foundation. That's our kind of cause, right? And where we focus on sort of kids from socioeconomically maybe challenged backgrounds, and we created a professional development program for them. We're very cognizant of making sure there's a good mix of young women and young men. This starts at the high school sophomore level.
Okay.
And an observation that we had early on in the evolution of this program, but some of it has changed now because women are being more supported through industry, and you can see that happening. But early on, what we had noticed was when the young girls and the men were in the same room trying to work through a debate or a conversation, or they tended to be a little quieter than when you had a room only full of women or only full of men. And these are just some interesting things that you're right. It's not anything that is maybe overtly happening. It's something that's maybe built into the psyche that's being observed professionally or in the development process. So I think it's great that you guys are taking a leadership step and addressing this, because I think it is going to matter. It's going to draw hopefully more women into the industry, which I think is a good thing. I think we all think that's a good thing. And I also think it's going to help the conversation around women in leadership roles in a traditionally male-dominated sector. So
just creating space.
Yeah, creating space.
Anytime you create space, you're going to get good results.
Yep.
Is there any thought or any opportunity to build long-term? I mean, it's a 3-hour workshop?
It is.
So are you able to build relationships or look at a long-term mentoring strategy, or any thoughts beyond?
Yeah, those are good questions. I do know that connections are made during this 3-hour workshop. And the thing we added this year was the networking the night before. I really do think that even that small little addition of time sort of removed a lot of the 7 a.m. staggering in to get coffee and not knowing anyone, uncomfortable atmosphere. It sort of removed a lot of that.
Got it.
So I think that is a valuable small thing we can add, just taking into account, how just human behavior, right? So I guess for long-term plans on where this could develop and go to, that's good questions. And it's always a very lively workshop.
Yeah.
It's got really high participation. People are not shy to get involved and ask those questions. And
I've talked to Matt about it. He that's one of his favorite things to attend or participate in. He's obviously a very big champion of a progressive sort of movement. Frankly, most people are,
Yeah.
I think, in this room.
I agree.
So that's great to see. Obviously, like we're here. There's this great workshop led by women. What is the engagement and some of the things that you guys are thinking about doing that are kind of continuous through the year?
We have the meeting of the Women in Vegetation Committee.
Okay.
It is primarily to plan the event that
Yep.
happens at the conference each year.
Yep.
If you'd like to get involved, reach out to me. I'm interested in
Yeah.
hearing from people if they experience barriers to entry into this
Okay.
workshop. That's been some feedback. It does cost an additional amount on top of your registration fee for the Trees and Utilities Conference.
Got it.
So that additional expense could be off-putting. So we've been talking about some different ways to maybe add sponsorship or to
It's a good idea.
get some more involvement in the event. So
And from a leadership perspective, as the chairperson, is there a once you're the chairperson, can you still be on the committee? Do you roll
yeah.
off? Like, is there?
no,
Yeah.
the committee participation is strictly voluntary.
It's voluntary.
Yeah, if
So
you
you're
want to
chair
be
for life?
right, I'm.
You're in.
I've actually added a tattoo. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Nice.
No, I spent the last year as a chairperson. I'm finished with my role as of Monday at
Yep.
noon. So that
Yep.
was very exciting. I will still be on the committee.
Okay.
And we, like I said, are planned 2 years in advance.
Yep.
So that chairperson is just really to keep things on the rails,
Yep.
which we know Deanna really does that instead
Yeah.
of the chairperson. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
So if you were at the UAA luncheon, it was sort of, at least two, I didn't count the board members, but 2 or 3 of the board members were women.
Yes. Was it 4? Sarah.
And then the
yeah.
awards, the
Yes.
women were represented in the
Yes.
awards. So it was nice to see.
Yeah. I agree with you.
It's an interesting time. I think just more from a macro perspective, I think many industries are going through a bit of a revolution, a change. I'm seeing lots of women in leadership roles in a variety of other industries. My wife is also, a working professional in the tech space, and so I'm also a big champion of seeing the progression of women and in various leadership roles, and so very exciting. Really appreciate you taking some time and sitting with us, and congratulations on what sounded like a very successful workshop.
It was. I was very pleased with it this year. And I
And,
appreciate you guys having me on.
No, of course, and definitely next year I'm going to make it a point to sort of see if I can attend.
You
and,
should. It's a great time.
Yeah,
And
I'd love
hopefully
to,
more
love
of
to
our
see it.
listeners will be there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Thank you, Jamie. Really appreciate it.
Thanks. I appreciate you guys.
All right, absolutely.
Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. That's it for this episode of Trees and Lines, brought to you by Iapetus Holdings. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. If you have any questions or comments on any of our episodes or ideas for topics or guests, we'd love to hear from you. Please contact us at treesandlines@iapetusllc.com. We'll chat with you soon.